There's a used luxury SUV sitting on a lot about a mile from here, and the little paper price in the windshield stopped making sense to me the second I did the math. Somebody drove that thing off a new lot 5 years ago and paid all in close to 90 grand for it. Leather, big screens, the badge, the whole show. And today the dealer wants a little over 20 for it. Same body, same paint, same badge on the hood. It lost the better part of $70,000 while it sat in a garage being wiped down on weekends. And here's the part that gets me. That is not the sad story on this lot. That is the deal of the week if you know what you're looking at. So the title tells you these SUVs crashed in value, and they did. But I want to be straight with you right out of the gate, because almost nobody selling you a car is going to say this next part out loud. Over this last stretch, from 2025 into 2026, used cars didn't crash. They went the other way. As a whole, they got more expensive. The average 5-year drop across everything on the road actually improved to just under 42%, which is close to 4 points better than the year before, and every big slice of the market held its value better than it had in years. Trucks held. Hybrids held like never before. Your boring, reliable, unglamorous stuff held like a rock. Which makes this a much more interesting question than the title lets on. If nearly everything went up, why did this specific shortlist go straight down anyway? Because that's the thing worth understanding. I've spent a long time watching auction numbers and the sheets that tell you what a car's really worth when the marketing's gone quiet. And I'll tell you, the cars that fell while everything else rose are the most useful list in the whole business. They tell you exactly what a real buyer's wallet has decided it doesn't trust anymore. By the time we're done here, you're going to read a depreciation curve the way I do, like a map instead of a landmine. You'll know which of these to never touch new, which of them turn into the smartest buy on the lot the day the previous owner's already eaten the whole fall, and how to tell the two apart. And stay with me for the part in the middle, because there's one number the salesman will never ever bring up on his own, and once you learn to ask for it, the whole game changes. Let me walk you through it. Here's what's really going on because it splits clean into two piles. Pile 1 is electric. For years, the government was quietly carrying the price of every new electric vehicle in the country, and right in the middle of this window, it stopped. Pile 2 is older than electric cars and it never goes away. It's the giant luxury badge that's cheap to buy and brutally expensive to keep breathing once the warranty's dead. Almost every SUV on this list falls into one of those two buckets, and neither one is a mystery once you see it. And before I count them off, hold on to the flip side because it makes the crash so much clearer. The stuff that held its value this year tells you everything. A basic Toyota 4Runner lost only about a quarter of its worth over 5 years. A Jeep Wrangler about a third. Hybrids, as a whole group, went from being some of the worst value losers in the business years back to some of the best today, down to around a third gone. Trucks, same story. Even a Porsche sports car up top lost under 10% over 5 years, which is barely losing anything at all. So the market isn't broken. The market is working perfectly. It's rewarding the honest, simple, proven stuff, and it's punishing exactly 10 things I'm about to show you. And that split, honest and simple on one side, complicated and propped up on the other, is really the whole lesson buried in here. Once you can see which side a car is sitting on before you ever buy it, you stop being the person the crash happens to and start being the person who profits from it. Let me thread that same idea right through all of them. Number 1 is the Jaguar I-Pace, and I'm starting here because it is, flat out, the worst of the bunch. Not one of the worst. The worst resale value of just about anything you can buy. This was Jaguar's first real swing at an electric SUV, a genuinely handsome thing, quick, good to drive, and it stickered north of 80 grand when it was new. A loaded first edition ran nearly $87,000. You want to know what one of those is worth now? About 22. That's it. It's holding on to roughly a quarter of what somebody paid for it. The 5-year drop lands somewhere between 70 and 72%, depending on whose numbers you trust, and every last one of them trusts that it's brutal. So why is it this bad? High price for an unproven electric car, a brand that has never once been kind to your resale, range and charging, that got left behind almost immediately, and then Jaguar went and killed the thing off entirely while it steps back to reinvent itself. So now you've got an orphan. No new ones being built, a question mark over the whole brand, and a used market where nobody's going out of their way to buy the abandoned one when there's a whole pool of cheap used electric SUVs to pick through instead. Pure Pile 1. with a struggling badge stapled right on top. Number 2, the Tesla Model X. If you go by the study that tracks this stuff the hardest, this is the fastest dropping midsize SUV on the market, over 60% gone in 5 years. And the reason is a Tesla thing more than it is an SUV thing. Tesla loves to cut the price on new cars, and here's the part people never think through. Every single time they knock a few thousand off a new one, they reach right into your driveway and yank down the value of every used one already out there. You didn't do anything. You washed it on Sunday. The value dropped because a stranger you'll never meet got a discount on Monday. Then you had the rental fleets dumping used Teslas onto the market by the thousands a while back, which trained everybody to expect a cheap used Tesla, so the price floor just kept sinking. And now Tesla's discontinued the Model X, which throws a fresh question mark over long-term parts and support, and if there's one thing a used buyer hates, it's a question mark. On top of all that, these are not the simplest things in the world to live with once they've got some age on them, and enough owners have swapped repair trip war stories over the years that the reputation follows the car straight into the used listings and quietly drags the number down with it, so the used ones bleed. Same electric pile logic, just driven by a company that treats its own resale value like it's somebody else's problem. Number 3, the Cadillac Lyriq. This one stings a little because the Lyriq is actually a nice piece of work, but it was Cadillac's first big electric push. It's a luxury car, and when you stack luxury on top of electric, you get depreciation that will genuinely take your breath away. We're talking around 72% gone in 5 years, which drops a lot of these down to somewhere near $16,500. Sit with that for a second. A Cadillac that was well up in the 50s or 60s when it left the lot, worth about the same as a used compact Equinobox once it's got a few years on it. And it isn't that the car's bad. It's that the market has looked hard at a used luxury electric SUV out of the honeymoon and out of the warranty and decided it's a gamble it'll only take if the price gets cut right to the bone. First generation electric, luxury badge, out of coverage. And it doesn't help one bit that the maker keeps sharpening prices and stacking discounts on the newer ones just to move them off the lot, because every one of those deals quietly saws away at the worth of every used one already sitting in somebody's driveway. The market prices all 3 of those in at once, and it's merciless about it. Number 4, the Audi Q8 e-tron. And honestly, you could file most of Audi's electric SUV lineup right here beside it. Same tier as the Lyriq, well past 60% gone, and for the exact same 3 reasons every single time. It's a luxury EV, so it depreciates like a luxury car and an electric car at once, which is double the bleed from 2 directions. The tech aged fast, so a 5-year-old one already looks dated on paper against whatever just rolled out this year with more range and quicker charging. And the second owner takes one look at what an out-of-warranty repair costs on a German luxury EV, the kind of bill where one control module can run you into 4 figures before anybody's even fixed anything, and quietly walks over to something cheaper and simpler. You're starting to hear the pattern now, right? It's the same song with the words swapped around. High price, fast-aging tech, scary repair bills, and nobody home on the used lot. Number 5 is where this stops being just a rich person's problem. The Chevrolet Blazer Electric. Humble bow tie on the hood, no country club badge anywhere on it, and it still sheds value at a rate you'd normally only expect from something twice its price. And its cousin, the Equinox Electric, shows you the crash happening in real time, right in this window. After the government support went away, listing prices on the new Equinox Electric dropped better than 13% in a matter of months, and these electric Chevys started sitting on dealer lots more than twice as long as they used to, closer to 120 days each, just parked, gathering pollen, waiting for a buyer who's in no hurry. Across the board, electric vehicles were sitting on lots more than a third longer than they had been. And it got worse than that, because right as all of this was happening, a wave of brand new, genuinely affordable electric models started landing on lots, fresh redesigns and reintroduced nameplates undercutting everything in sight, so a 2 or 3-year-old electric Chevy suddenly had to fight a whole showroom full of newer, cheaper machines for the exact same single buyer. That's not a luxury tax. That's the electric pile problem hitting a normal, everyday, working family SUV square in the wallet. When the props came out from under the price, the number the car could actually command came down to meet reality, and it came down fast. Number 6, the Volkswagen ID.4. This one was supposed to be the sensible choice, the practical, affordable, buy it and keep it forever electric SUV for regular people who just wanted to do the responsible thing. And it's dropped about 62% over 5 years, which lands a used one somewhere in the low 20s. Here's why that one stings more than the fancy ones do. You buy a small, sensible SUV for the value. That's the entire point of it. The whole pitch is that it's a smart, boring, dependable money decision you make once and then stop thinking about. And when that exact kind of car turns around and loses nearly 2/3 of its worth, the whole reason you bought it in the first place has just evaporated. It's the same electric story as all the rest, but it hurts a completely different guy. Not the fella who wanted a status symbol and knew the risk. The fella who was actively trying to be smart with his money. Number 7, the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Ford built a whole pile of these, and volume is a funny thing when it comes to resale. Rarity holds value up. Flooding the market does the exact opposite. So the Mach-E dropped right around 60% over 5 years, sitting there in that same low-value pool with all the others, and a lot of them went out to rental and commercial fleets, which is a one-way ticket to a soft used price down the road. Once the buyer support disappeared and the used electric lots started filling up with them, there was just nothing left holding the number up. Nobody had to go out of their way to buy one used or pay a nickel of premium for it when there were 10 more just like it sitting 3 towns over, all of them fighting each other to be the cheapest one on the screen. And a used one with no scarcity behind it and a fleet-heavy history has nothing at all to lean on. No story that makes it special, no reason on earth for anybody to reach a little deeper into their wallet, so the price just keeps drifting down to whatever number finally gets it gone. Same pile, same window, same result. And that's 7 straight now that all come down to one single thing. The government stopped carrying the price, and the second the real price crawled out into daylight, these repriced overnight. Now let me flip you over to the other pile, because it arrives at the same crash through a completely different door. Number 8, the Infiniti QX80. This is a big gas luxury barge, and by some counts it's the single fastest dropping SUV on the whole market, right around 69% gone in 5 years, which is a loss of 50 grand or more in real actual dollars. Now watch what Infiniti did, because it's almost comedy. They kept jacking the new price up. It went from about $74,000 a couple of years back, up over $82,000 the next year, then higher still, past $83,000, and a big chunk of that increase was for a truck that barely changed underneath. So you're paying more money up front for basically the same vehicle, and it shares its bones with the cheaper Nissan sitting one showroom over, and the used market just shrugs and prices it like the giant, thirsty, expensive-to-maintain luxury barge it actually is. That's pile 2 in one sentence. It's not electric, it never lost a subsidy. It just costs a small fortune to own once it's out of warranty, and the used market has that figured out cold. Number 9, the Land Rover Range Rover Sport. Oh, this one's a classic, and I say that with love, because it's a genuinely beautiful truck and the badge still means something in the right parking lot, and it will take you for about 65% over 5 years, a loss that can run north of $55,000 on a fresh one. And the reason is written in plain English all over the ownership forums. Land Rovers carry a reputation for being, let's be polite, temperamental, and this one runs an engine family. A whole lot of folks consider among the worst the brand has ever bolted together. So here's the entire story in one line. A used Range Rover Sport is cheap to buy precisely because it is terrifying to keep. The purchase price has to crash to make up for the repair bills stacked up and waiting down the road. The market isn't punishing the badge here. It's pricing in the mechanic, the tow truck, and the specialist who charges specialist money because he knows you've got nowhere else to go. And the buyers know every bit of that going in, which is exactly why the price has to fall so far just to tempt anybody at all. A gorgeous truck that scares the wallet is a cheap truck, every single time. And number 10, the Cadillac Escalade, especially the long wheelbase ESV. This is the biggest, boldest, most in-your-face luxury barge on the entire list, and it drops something like 64%, and the stretched ESV version does it even worse, up around 66%. And the reason is almost poetic. The whole appeal of an Escalade is that it's enormous and thirsty, and it does not care what anything costs. That's the entire point of it the day it's new. That's the flex. But that exact same size and thirst that felt like power on day one slowly curdles into a liability the older the thing gets, until one day it's just a gigantic rolling fuel bill that nobody wants to inherit. And every gallon and every oversized tire and every repair is bigger and pricier than it would be on anything normal. Same pile as the Range Rover and the Infiniti. Cheap to buy used, expensive to actually live with, and the crash in the price is just the market being brutally honest about the gap between the two. So there's your 10, and here's the part that actually matters, the thing sitting underneath every single one of them. None of this is random, and none of it is some scam being run on you personally. Every one of these numbers is the market pricing in a real cost that somebody quietly handed off to the second and third owner. On the electric side, the true price of those cars had been hidden for years behind a wall of government money. $7,500 off a new one, $4,000 off a used one, straight off the top. Most people didn't even wait for it at tax time. They handed the credit to the dealer right there at the counter and took it as an instant discount, and better than 8 in 10 used electric buyers did exactly that. That support propped up demand and held prices artificially high for years. And it all ended right in the heart of this window on the last day of September in 2025. There was a mad rush to buy before the deadline. For 1 month, electric cars hit a record share of new sales, roughly 1 in 8, and then the door slammed. The moment the money went away, the real price came out into the light. New electric prices fell over 12% in half a year. Used electric prices slid too, and those lots I mentioned started piling up with unsold metal. And whoever bought new at full sticker while the credit was still holding the whole thing up, that person ate the entire gap. Not the dealer, not the automaker, the owner. Every time. On the luxury side, the crash is the market pricing in the mechanic, plain and simple. The $700 spark plug job, the $300 oil change, the out-of-warranty repair that costs more than a month's payment. A used Escalade or a used Range Rover is cheap for the exact same reason it's expensive, and the second owner isn't a fool, he's just running the math the first owner didn't want to look at. And I'll tell you where the real money in all of this actually sits, because it's worth saying flat out. There is no money in anyone telling you a car's about to lose 70% of its worth. None. Nobody on this earth gets paid to warn you off a monthly payment, but there is a mountain of money in the payment itself, in the lease, in the trade you in every 3 years machine that keeps you buying new right at the very top of the curve, over and over, eating that first vicious drop every single time you sign. Think for a second about who's on the other side of that deal. The maker sells you a fresh car at full price. The lender writes you a fresh loan with fresh interest stacked on top. The dealer clips you once on the new sale and then again on your trade-in, which he buys off you low and turns right back around. And 3 years later, the whole merry-go-round spins up and does it all again. Every single party in that chain does just a little bit better when you buy new and buy often, and not one of them does $1 better when you buy a 3-year-old car and keep it for 10. That's not a conspiracy in a back room. It's just where the current naturally flows, and that current's been carving the same channel for a very long time. The crash was never the villain. The crash is just the truth showing up. The system that's built to keep you standing right in the crash zone on purpose, year after year. That's the thing worth being annoyed about. And that, when you strip it all the way down, is what depreciation really is. It's the single most honest number in the entire car business. It's the one figure the ads never mention, the one the window sticker leaves off, the one the salesman will happily talk around all afternoon. Because it isn't marketing. It's millions of real people voting with real dollars about what your car is genuinely worth after all the shine has worn off and the new smell is long gone. Horsepower is a brochure number. Screen size is a brochure number. Depreciation is the verdict. It's the market telling you the plain truth at the one moment when nobody's trying to sell you anything at all. And the second you stop being scared of that number and start actually reading it, that ugly figure on the used lot flips over and becomes the sharpest tool in your whole kit. So here's what I want you to actually do with all of this. First, before you ever let yourself fall in love with a car, go look up what that same model is worth 3 and 5 years down the road. That one curve tells you more than any test drive ever will. Second, flip the whole thing around in your head. The steepest crashers on this entire list, the ones that lost 70%, Those are terrible cars to buy new, and they can be absolutely fantastic cars to buy used, but only if you walk up after the fall is already over, not while it's still happening. Let the first owner take the beating for you. You step in when the price has already found the floor. Third, if it's electric, do not skip this one, ever. Get the battery's health checked, what the trade calls its state of health, and don't accept anything under about 80%. A cheap used electric with a strong, healthy battery is a genuine steal that'll run for years. A cheap used electric with a tired, worn-out battery is just somebody handing you their problem and smiling while they do it. And fourth, on the luxury barges, price in the mechanic before you ever sign a thing. Don't ask what it costs to buy. Ask what it costs to keep for 3 years. That's the number that quietly ruins people. Do that and picture exactly where you end up. You're standing on that same lot I started on. Everybody else sees a scary sticker that says, "This thing lost most of its value," and they hurry right past it, spooked. But you walk straight up to it. You already know the previous owner swallowed the entire crash for you. You've seen the battery report and it came back strong. And you drive off in something that cost close to 90 grand brand new for a little over 20, understanding exactly what you bought and exactly why it was so cheap. And here's the quiet part. Sitting underneath the whole thing, the money you didn't hand over to that first brutal drop is money that just stays in your pocket or rolls straight into the next thing, or simply buys you the freedom to stop losing sleep over a car payment at all. That's what learning to read the number really gets you. It was never truly about the car. That's not luck. That's just knowing how to read the one number they were hoping you'd ignore. So let me hear from you on this one. I want to know what your SUV actually sold for, or what they offered you on the trade-in, up against what you paid for it new. Real numbers, the honest ones. And tell me where you are, because this stuff moves differently depending on where you live and what everybody around you is buying. I read every single reply that comes in, and I'll be honest with you, those stories, the ones from people who've watched this happen with their own 2 hands and their own bank account, those are the whole reason I keep making these. If you got something out of this, subscribe and stick around, because the next one's been sitting on my mind for a while now. I want to talk about 3 little words printed on a whole lot of new cars sitting on lots right now. Filled for life, as in a transmission that supposedly never ever needs its fluid changed. Not once, not ever. And I'm going to show you who exactly decided your fluid magically never needs touching. What really happens inside a sealed transmission that's been engineered to just barely outlive your ownership and then quietly give up the ghost. And why that innocent little phrase might just be one of the most expensive 3 words in the entire business. You're going to want to hear that one before your next service appointment. But for today, that's the deal on the 10 that fell while everything else was busy climbing. The crash was never the mystery. The real mystery is why anybody keeps choosing to stand right where it lands, over and over. Don't be that guy. Read the number, let the other fella take the fall for you, and go buy the crash instead of living in it. I'll see you on the next one.